Think about yesterday evening. You finished work, you got home. Maybe you ate dinner, changed your clothes, sat on the couch, and told yourself, I'll relax for 10 minutes. Then you picked up your phone. One video became five. You checked Instagram, then YouTube, maybe Netflix. Maybe you opened Amazon for something you didn't even need. And suddenly you looked at the clock and 2 or 3 hours were gone. Now, here is the uncomfortable question. If that happens 5 or 6 nights every week, where exactly do you think your life will be 5 years from now? Because 2 hours after work does not feel important. It feels small, but 2 hours a day is more than 700 hours in a year. And over 5 years, that becomes thousands of hours that can disappear without leaving anything behind. No new skill, no extra income, no stronger financial position, no better career, nothing. Now, imagine another person, same age as you, same type of job, similar salary, same 24 hours. That person also comes home tired. They also watch something. They also relax. The difference is that somewhere inside those evening hours, they protect just 60 to 90 minutes for their future. At first, nothing looks different. After 1 month, both people still look almost the same. After 6 months, maybe you notice a small difference. After 2 years, one person has learned a valuable skill, improved their resume, built useful relationships, started investing, maybe created a small second income. The other person is still waiting for the next raise. 5 years later, their lives can look completely different. Different salaries, different savings, different options, different confidence. And the biggest difference may not have been created during office hours. It may have been created after work. That is why today, I want to show you 7 things you can start doing after work that can quietly put you years ahead financially and professionally. You do not have to do all 7 every night. That would be unrealistic. You only need to understand one thing. Your free time is not empty time. It is either being spent or it is being invested. And at the end, I'll give you a very simple 60-minute evening system you can actually follow without turning your entire life into another job. So start with the first thing. Find out where your evenings are actually going. Most people say I don't have time, but think carefully. Do you really have no time? Or do you have time that disappears in pieces? 20 minutes here, 40 minutes there, 1 hour scrolling, 30 minutes watching random videos, another half hour just switching between apps. Individually, none of these look serious. That is why they are dangerous. Imagine a guy named Ryan. Ryan works a normal office job. Every evening, he feels exhausted. So he comes home and spends about 2.5 hours between television, social media, and random browsing. Ryan does not think he wastes 2.5 hours. In his mind, he is only relaxing for a little while. But multiply 2.5 hours by 5 evenings. That is 12.5 hours every week. More than 50 hours every month. Hundreds of hours every year. Now ask yourself, what could happen if even half of those hours went somewhere useful? Not all of them. Half. That is the important part. I am not telling you to stop enjoying your life. The goal is not to become a robot. The goal is to stop losing hours you did not consciously choose to lose. For the next 7 days, try something extremely simple. At the end of every evening, write down where your time went. Work, dinner, family, exercise, learning, television, social media, whatever it is. Do not judge it, just track it. Because the moment you can see your time, you can start controlling it. And once you find even 30 or 60 minutes that were disappearing every night, the next question becomes obvious. What should you do with that time? That brings us to the second thing. Build one skill that can increase your income. Notice I said one skill, not 7. This is where many people make a mistake. They watch one video about coding and decide to learn coding. Then they hear about AI and switch to AI. Then someone talks about sales, then digital marketing, then investing. 3 months later, they have watched hundreds of videos and become good at nothing. Knowledge without depth rarely changes your income. So ask yourself a much better question. If I became unusually good at one skill during the next 12 months, which skill could make me more valuable? For one person, that might be sales. For another, data analysis. For another, communication, project management, video editing, AI automation, negotiation, copywriting, programming, leadership. The answer depends on your career, but the principle is the same. Your salary is not determined only by how hard you work. It is heavily influenced by the value of the problems you can solve. Imagine 2 employees earning $60,000. One finishes work and stops learning anything connected to the job. The second spends 45 minutes, 4 nights a week, developing a skill that their company actually needs. 4 nights, 45 minutes, that is only 3 hours per week. It does not sound impressive, but over 50 weeks, That becomes about 150 hours. Now imagine 150 hours of serious practice in one valuable skill. Who is more useful 12 months later? Who has more leverage in a salary discussion? Who is stronger in an interview? Who has more options if the company announces layoffs? This is why learning after work is not just self-improvement. It can become financial protection. But there is another problem. You can learn for years and still remain underpaid. Why? Because knowing something and proving that you can use it are two different things. So the third thing is this: build proof, not just knowledge. A lot of people collect courses, certificates, books, tutorials. They keep learning. But when someone asks, what can you actually do? They have nothing to show. Think about this from an employer's point of view. Two candidates apply for the same role. The first person says, I completed 3 courses in data analytics. The second person opens a laptop and shows 3 dashboards they built using real public data. Who feels less risky to hire? The second person has proof. Imagine Sarah works in customer support and wants to move into operations. After work, she starts learning spreadsheets and automation. But instead of only watching tutorials, she creates a simple system that organizes support data and highlights common customer problems. Then she improves it. Then she documents what she built. Now she has something she can show. That one project can become part of her resume, her interview, her LinkedIn profile, her portfolio, maybe even something she uses inside her current company. This is where a small after-work project becomes career leverage. So whatever skill you choose, create something with it. If you are learning writing, publish something. If you are learning design, create designs. If you are learning coding, build something. If you are learning sales, practice pitches and track results. If you are learning marketing, create a real campaign for a small project. Do not spend 12 months preparing to become useful. Become useful while you are learning. Because knowledge becomes more valuable when other people can see evidence of it. And once you can produce something valuable, another door opens. Someone other than your employer may be willing to pay you for it. That brings us to number 4, run small income experiments. When people hear second income, they immediately imagine starting a huge business, a website, a company, employees, thousands of dollars. That makes the whole idea feel difficult before they even begin. Forget all of that for a moment. Your first goal is not to build a business. Your first goal is much smaller. Can you make $1 outside your salary using something you know? That first dollar changes something psychologically, because until then, your brain believes money comes from one place, your employer, every 2 weeks. That is the system. But the moment someone else pays you for a skill, your view of income changes. Imagine Marcus works in finance. He is good with spreadsheets. A friend owns a small business and needs help organizing monthly reports. Marcus helps him after work and gets paid $150. $150 will not make him financially free. But that is not the important part. The important part is that Marcus has just discovered another way his knowledge can produce money. Now he improves the service. Maybe the next client pays $250. Maybe after a few months, he is making $600 on the side. Maybe it never becomes a full-time business. That is fine, because even $500 a month is $6,000 a year. That could build an emergency fund, pay down a credit card, increase retirement contributions, pay for a course, or simply give someone breathing room. So instead of asking, what side hustle should I start? Ask, what problem can I solve for one person this month? One customer? One project? One experiment? Start small enough that you cannot hide behind planning. But here is where another mistake appears. Somebody makes an extra $500, and suddenly their spending increases by $500. New restaurants, new subscriptions, a nicer phone, a more expensive weekend. Income goes up, lifestyle follows it, and the person is back where they started. That is why the 5th thing matters. Give every extra dollar a job before you earn it. Think about the last raise you received. Where did it go? Most people cannot tell you. Before the raise, they were surviving on one income. Then the salary went up. A few months later, somehow the new salary also feels normal. The extra money disappears into a slightly more expensive version of life. This is lifestyle inflation. And it is one of the quietest reasons people can earn more for 10 years and still feel like they are standing still. So create a rule before the money arrives. For example, imagine you get an extra $400 a month. Instead of allowing the entire $400 to become spending, divide it intentionally. Maybe $150 goes toward investing, $100 toward debt, $50 toward an emergency fund. and you let yourself enjoy the remaining $100. Now your life improves today, but your future improves too. This is important because becoming wealthy is not only about making more. It is about creating a gap between what you earn and what you consume. Without that gap, even a very good income can feel poor. With that gap, money finally has somewhere to accumulate. And this does not only apply to salary. If you make $300 from a side project, decide beforehand what percentage goes toward your future. Otherwise, extra income has a strange habit of turning into extra spending. Now, there is another kind of investment that costs almost nothing, but can produce opportunities you cannot predict. Number 6, build relationships before you need help. A lot of people only start networking when something goes wrong. They lose a job. They hate their boss. They need a client. Suddenly, they message everyone they have not spoken to in 3 years. Think about that. If the only time someone hears from you is when you need something, what kind of relationship is that? Real relationships are built when there is no emergency. Imagine you spend just 20 minutes after work, once or twice a week, doing something simple. Message a former coworker. Congratulate someone on a new role. Ask somebody experienced in your field one thoughtful question. Help someone with information you already have. Reconnect with someone you respect. That sounds small, but one genuine professional connection every week is more than 50 connections in a year. And sometimes your next opportunity does not come from a job board. It comes from someone saying, I know a person who would be good for this. That sentence can change a career. A good network can help you discover roles before they are advertised, clients before you start looking, ideas you had never considered, skills that are becoming valuable, and mistakes you can avoid because someone else already made them. But there is something even more important than knowing the right people. You also need enough clarity to know which direction you are actually trying to go. That brings us to the 7th thing. Review your life before another week disappears. Most people review their phone notifications more often than they review their own direction. They stay busy, very busy. Work, bills, messages, errands, meetings, weekend, Monday again. Then 6 months pass, and another year. And one day they say, nothing really changed. So once a week after work, give yourself 20 minutes without your phone. Ask yourself 3 questions. What moved me forward this week? What wasted the most time? What should I change next week? That is it. Do not make it complicated. Maybe you discover you studied your new skill twice. Good. Maybe you realize you spent 9 hours watching things you barely remember. Useful information. Maybe you earned your first $100 outside your job. Write it down. Maybe you were so exhausted that you did nothing productive for 4 evenings. That tells you something too. Because sometimes the smartest thing you can do after work is sleep earlier, exercise, take a walk, spend time with your family, recover. This is where people misunderstand productivity. Using your evenings well does not mean filling every minute with more work. If you are permanently tired, your plans eventually collapse. Your health is part of your financial life too. A tired person makes worse decisions. A burned out person stops learning. A person with no energy will not maintain a side project for 3 years. So the goal is not maximum activity. The goal is sustainable progress. Now let's bring all 7 together. First, find where your evenings are actually going. Second, choose one skill that can increase your value. Third, build proof that you can use that skill. Fourth, test small ways to earn outside your salary. Fifth, give extra income a job before it disappears. Sixth, build relationships before you need them. And 7th, review your direction every week so you do not spend years moving without knowing where you are going. Now you might be thinking, this sounds good, but how am I supposed to do all of this after working 8 or 9 hours? You are not. That is the mistake. You do not need a 4-hour millionaire evening routine. Start with 60 minutes, 20 minutes learning, 20 minutes building or practicing, 20 minutes on one practical action. That practical action could be checking your finances, sending one professional message, working on a side income experiment, updating your portfolio, planning the next day. And some nights, do nothing, rest, go out, spend time with people you love. The system only works if you can actually live with it. Now think again about those 2 people. Same job, same salary, same Monday morning. At the beginning, there is almost no difference between them. One person uses their evenings only to recover from today. The other person uses part of their evenings to quietly build tomorrow. 1 week does not create the gap. 1 month does not create the gap. The gap appears because small choices keep repeating. 30 minutes of learning, 1 useful project, 1 new relationship, 1 extra client, 1 automatic investment, 1 weekly review. None of these looks life-changing while you are doing it. That is exactly how compounding usually begins. Quietly, and then one day the difference is obvious. One person says, I hope I get a raise. The other can negotiate one. One person says, I hope I never lose this job. The other knows they have skills, savings, and another way to earn. One person keeps waiting for their financial life to change. The other has been building that change for years. So tonight, do not try to change your entire life. Choose one thing, just one. Maybe you check where your last 7 evenings went. Maybe you choose the skill you are going to build. Maybe you start a small project. Maybe you finally look at your spending. Maybe you message someone you should have stayed in touch with. Maybe you test your first way to earn outside your job. It does not have to look impressive, because the evenings that change your life rarely feel dramatic while you are living them. They look ordinary. A Tuesday night, a laptop, a notebook, 45 minutes, no applause, nobody watching. But repeat enough ordinary nights in the right direction, and eventually you can create an extraordinary difference. So tell me in the comments, which of these 7 are you going to start first? Write the number. And 1 year from now, the goal is not to say, I watched a good video. The goal is to look at your skills, your income, your savings, and your options and realize that your life is no longer standing where it was. Your job may control 8 hours of your day, but what you do with some of the hours that remain can still change where your entire life goes.